O Dio, nostro Padre, concedi al popolo cristiano di iniziare con questo digiuno un cammino di vera conversione per affrontare vittoriosamente con le armi della penitenza il combattimento contro lo spirito del male. Per il nostro Signore Gesù Cristo, tuo Figlio, che Dio e vive e regna con te nell'unità dello Spirito Santo per tutti i secoli dei secoli.
Amen.
Dal libro del profeta Gioele. Così dice il Signore: ritornate a me con tutto il cuore, con digiuni, con pianti e lamenti. Laceratevi il cuore e non le vesti. Ritornate al Signore vostro Dio, perché Egli è misericordioso e pietoso, lento all'ira, di grande amore, pronto a ravvedersi riguardo al male. Chissà che non cambi e si ravveda e lasci dietro a sé una benedizione, offerta e libagione per il Signore, vostro Dio. Suonate il corno in Sion, proclamate un solenne digiuno, convocate una riunione sacra, radunate il popolo, indite un'assemblea solenne, chiamate i vecchi, riunite i fanciulli, i bambini lattanti. Esca lo sposo dalla sua camera e la sposa dal suo talamo. Tra il vestibolo e l'altare piangano i sacerdoti, ministri del Signore, e dicano: perdona, Signore, al tuo popolo e non esporre la tua eredità agli dui.
All right, everyone, we are recording this Ash Wednesday event, so we will take you back to this a little bit later on, but first we do want to take you to the Senate floor. Looks like senators about to vote on the Secretary of the Interior nominee.
Mr. Burr. Aye. Mrs. Ernst. Aye. Mr. Brown. Aye. Mr. Alexander. Aye. Mr. Hatch. Aye. Mrs. Feinstein. Doesn't want to. Mr. Casey. No. Mr. Barrasso. Aye. Mr. Bennett. Aye. Mr. Menendez. No. Mr. Manchin. Aye. Mrs. Feinstein. No. Mr. Cardin. No. Ms. Hirono, no. Mr. Carper. No. Ms. Stabenow? No. Mr. Roberts?
Yeah, I mean, it was
Aye.
the thing set. Confirmation of
Mr. Wyden? Aye. Mr. Durbin?
well, you got 30 out.
No. Mr. Scott? Aye. Mr. Rubio? Aye. Mr. Portman? Aye. Mr. Tillis? Aye. Mr. Nelson? No. Mr. Nelson? Aye.
You are, first of all, you
Mr. Sullivan? Aye.
Hey guys, how we doing?
I think
Mr. Cruz? Aye. Ms. Klobuchar? No.
there's something going on in there. So.
Mr. Cassidy? Aye. Mr. Coons? Aye.
I had a hold on Steve Hendrick for 6 months. I don't know.
Ms. Harris? No. Mr. Thune? Aye. Mr. Udall? Aye. Mr. Schumer, no. Mr. McConnell, aye. Mr. Johnson, aye. Mrs. McCaskill, aye. Ms. Heitkamp, aye.
I don't even remember.
Are there any senators in the chamber wishing to vote or change their vote? If not, the yeas are 68, the nays are 31. The nomination is confirmed.
Mr. President.
Majority Leader.
Senate's not in order.
Senate will be in order.
Play the rate.
Senate will be in order. Please take your conversations elsewhere. Majority Leader.
I move to reconsider the vote on the nomination, and I move to table the motion to reconsider.
Questions on the motion to table? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All those opposed say no. Ayes appear to have it. Ayes do have it. The motion is agreed to. Under the previous order, there will now be 10 minutes of debate equally divided.
Mr. President.
Senator from Idaho.
Mr. President, it's an honor for me to again recommend Dr. Carson as the Secretary of HUD.
Senate will be in order.
Mr. President, Dr. Carson brings a fresh set of eyes to every issue, every problem he faces, and he has an incredible record of success and achieving outstanding results. We look forward to him bringing that same kind of analytical mind and management to the Housing and Urban Development Department. I don't think that there's any better pick that could have been made, and I urge my colleagues to support this motion to invoke cloture. I'd like to yield the balance of our time to the senator from Montana.
Mr. President, back in 1979, there was a junior from Bozeman High School and another junior from Whitefish High School, both headed to Dillon, Montana as Boys State delegates. The keynote speaker that year was a newly elected U.S. Senator named Max Baucus. Who knew that 38 years later, that kid from Bozeman would serve as the United States Senator, and that kid from Whitefish would be our next Secretary of the Interior? Congratulations to Ryan Zinke, our new Secretary of the Interior, who was confirmed with a very strong bipartisan support, and he is the first Montanan to serve in a president's cabinet since our statehood in 1889. Ryan, It's truly an honor to be one of the very first to call you Secretary Zinke. On behalf of the people of Montana and our country, well done, sir. I yield back my time.
Mr. President.
Senator from Idaho.
Mr. President, it's my understanding there's no one else who wants to speak on either side, and so at this point, I yield back all time on both sides.
Without objection, the clerk will report the motion to invoke cloture.
Cloture motion. We, the undersigned senators, in accordance with the provisions of Rule 22 of the Standing Rules of the Senate, do hereby move to bring to a close debate on the nomination of Ben Carson to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development, signed by 17 senators.
By unanimous consent, the mandatory quorum call has been waived. The question is it the sense of the Senate that debate on the nomination of Benjamin S. Carson, Sr. of Florida, to be Secretary of Housing and Urban Development shall be brought to a close? The yeas and nays are mandatory under the rule. The clerk will call the roll.
Mr. Alexander. Ms. Baldwin. Mr. Barrasso.